Welcome to the Journey to Happy podcast, a podcast dedicated to share inspiring stories, motivational tips to help you tune into your own superpowers, get out of your own way, and show up in your life as your own superhero. Because let's face it, happiness is homemade. I am Olga, your host. Your host, and today in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about something that I truly believe in, and that's abundance, the mindset behind abundance. And I absolutely have to touch on the mindset that stops us from abundance, which is the scarcity thinking. So we're going to dive into this together. I'm going to walk you through some of the steps that I walk myself through to really manifest abundance in my life of health, of wealth, of love. And I am going to also walk you through some of the things that I walk my clients to leave their scarcity thinking behind, the blockages and the beliefs that hold them back from what they actually want to see growing and multiplying in their life. But before we dive into this, I wanted to bring awareness to my newest membership called Reset Your Mindset. I have made a very accessible service available to you all to work directly with me throughout this membership. Reset Your Mindset is a membership to help you do exactly that. Reset your mindset. With it, you get monthly videos on one of the four pillars of my program, which is the heart, the soul, the body, and the mind. We get a workbook to go along with the videos and the teachings. And you also get one or two Zoom calls with me and with the community to go and ask any of the questions you may have. You guys can do this totally anonymous if you do not want to share who you are and what your name is. You can simply submit your questions ahead of time, and I will answer them in my call without disclosing who asked the question. Now you can join for as low as $47 and for as much as $297, the VIP. The VIP gives you lots of great perks such as a private one-on-one call with me, access to my mindfulness and meditation library, and to my online courses, Mindfulness for Everyday and the Anxiety Relief course, as well as discounted rates for all the workshops and other things that I promote on a regular basis. So if you like this podcast, if you've been following me and following my Instagram account, looking at my free videos on self-help, and this has created a positive change in your mind, you may want to look into my podcast. If you look into the notes of this podcast, into my reset. See, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Into the notes of this podcast, you have the link to Reset Your Mindset for you to think about. All right, having said that, let's dive in. What is this thing of abundance? Everybody wants it. Everybody says they want it. But not everybody lives life from a place of abundance. Why is that? Guys, I can tell you that in my personal life, I've noticed that I've never been low on anything. I've always had plenty of everything. And I remember being coached once by a business coach who was amazed by that. She just, I think I ended up coaching her throughout our first session, at the end of the first session, because she couldn't believe I had zero blockages to stop me from abundance, from getting what I wanted and how I wanted it. And so that conversation many years ago made me reflect on what is it that I do, what is it that I view life as that allows me to tap into this infinite energy that gives me what I need. And so ultimately, I came down to the following conclusions that I'm going to share here with you. But first and foremost, I almost never land much of my time in the scarcity mode. And I'm going to talk about scarcity mode. Kind of might feel like contradictory to do that in an abundance talk. But I think is very important to do so because many of us, without noticing it, are constantly in this scarcity mindset. And so, what comes from being in the scarcity mindset is more scarcity. And that's the complete opposite of abundance. That's not what we want. Okay, so what is your scarcity mindset? Scarcity mindset, obviously, as the name says, comes from not enough. I believe that we don't have enough, but it also comes from fear. It's a fear based mindset. And so it gives you this feeling that we are like, you're not enough, we're not enough, they are not enough, and we won't have enough. So, what's at the core of scarcity is fear of losing, fear of at some point not having enough. This could come across in relationships where you feel like, is this a good enough partner for me? Is this a good enough partnership for me? Is this a good enough job for me? So these people who are in scarcity mode are constantly looking for the next best, if you know what I mean. Where you might not even dive deeply into a relationship romantically because the thought of, is there anybody better out there, which then also translates to this person right now might not be good enough, which really translates to I am not good enough, keeps playing in the back of their mind, not letting them really stop and enjoy and dive into the force of love. So I don't know if this begins to resonate with you or not, but it did with me and it does with many of my clients. What comes out of their scarcity mindset? The results. You are now all of your mind resources are spent on finding deficiencies everywhere. So if I go back to this relationship example, my clients who are in the scarcity mode mindset constantly are looking for what's not working ideally in that partnership. It's like their eyes are focused only on finding all the deficiencies in their relationship and in their partner. So when I ask my clients, why are you doing this? They would sincerely believe that they're doing it for the purpose of improving or being prepared or just being awake. I'm just watching like a hawk so that if I can notice anything wrong with this person, with this relationship, I can get out of it. In my experience, they actually don't get out of the relationship. They just continue in this recycling of looking for deficiencies, communicating their deficiencies, creating a sense of unhappiness and of a feeling that the partner is not enough. Now their partner feels like they're not enough. My client feels like they're not enough, and they don't leave the relationship either because they're trying for it to become enough. They begin to strive for more, but from the place of believing that nothing is good enough. So in my experience, they struggle and that relationship doesn't improve until my client begins to understand abundance and begins to understand that this thinking of scarcity, of that belief, that core belief of not being enough, is not serving them, is not protecting them, is not leading them to a better relationship. Because as I've said before, wherever you go, there you are. So, the scarcity mode is also what leads us to believe we don't have enough money or we're not going to have enough money. I've got a few friends who are entrepreneurs like myself, and they begin their business by thinking, what if I fail? That's the basis of how they start their business. What do you guys think happens to this person? Not necessarily that they will fail, but they are going to have an uphill battle to success because their core belief is based on a fear of what if I fail. They're worried about not having enough money. They're worried about not having enough clients. And so when we think from the scarcity mode, we don't even notice it. But our mind, as I mentioned earlier, begins to look for deficiencies. And so what ends up happening, for example, if you think that you don't have enough money currently, what ends up happening? Your taste becomes really freaking expensive. Have you noticed? Like you want the dress, but you don't want the dress that is at Walmart for $10, $15. You want the dress that it's at a signature shop or a designer shop and is $500, and you're like, but how am I, everything that I'm looking at is so expensive. You happen to look at the menu of a restaurant and so happens to be a really expensive restaurant. So your brain, unbeknown to you, starts taking away all the evidence of abundance and focusing only on the fact that you do not have enough money, which is your core belief. I don't have enough money. So your beautiful brain is looking for evidence to support that. So it's no coincidence that then as you're feeling broke, you start noticing that everything costs money. And I have these clients who tell me, like, I swear to God, as I lost my job, I'm starting to notice that, my God, to have fun, I must have money. And I'm like, what? Where are you coming from? Have you ever played a board game? That's totally free. Have you ever played volleyball? That's free. So our mind stops looking for solutions of abundance or stops looking at places where we've got enough. If this is you, which by the way, guys, I would say the majority of the people are walking around this earth believing ultimately that they're not good enough. And I do think that in North America, that's a very big belief that has been created. Why? Because we're consumers. So as long as we're feeling like we need one more thing, we're shopping. And so that's very convenient for a consumer, a high consumer society. And so since we're little, we're always asked to think for the next toy that we want to get, the next outfit, the next car, the next house. So we're never coming from a place, we're not even raised to believe that the way we are, we're perfectly enough. We need nothing to be happy. We're already happy. And so this may sound to you very hippie-ish, or my husband would say, like, this is when you ask people to hold their hands and sing a kumbaya. That's not where I'm coming from, and I really hope that this doesn't sound to you very wishy-washy, but that you listen to this from the perspective of, what if I begin to change my mindset? What if I begin to believe that maybe everything I'm looking for is already there? If I just shape my thinking, my core beliefs, I can begin to see that abundance. One of the things I ask my clients who work with me in my membership, in the Reset Mindset membership, or privately, or in my Journey to Happy, especially my Journey to Happy people, is to create constant and daily and regularly lists of all the things that are working for them, that are working well. Every week they have to answer me, what's working well for you? What worked well this week? Which forces their mind to look into the positives, into the abundance. What are you grateful for today? Gratitude is the biggest vehicle, the most successful one too, to begin to cultivate abundance. So bringing you back to the story, when I met with this business coach who obviously didn't have the abundance mindset, and she was shocked to hear my trajectory in business, but also in my personal life. She couldn't believe that I never worked through this with a coach or with anybody, that was within me. And I couldn't believe that this was something that we needed to work through. So that that perspective, or that interaction, made me look back into my own upbringing. What do I believe? Why was this so natural to me? What was happening? So I have to say that, yes, I was raised in a home and in a family where commodities were all over. Like, really, truly, my needs were always met and more. So yes, I was raised within a perspective of I will always have enough, because that was my truth growing up. So maybe I didn't have to reshape my thinking, but what I've come to learn is that as I grew older, this became my choice. Like, I choose to believe that way. I remember my parents, whenever I would encounter a deficiency, like I didn't do well in a test, or I didn't meet the criteria for something that I really wanted to, my mom and dad would sit with me, and they would never say like, oh, it's tough luck, let's all cry about this. They will have zero pity for me, and they will look at me and say, now what? So what are you doing about it? What will be a good way to solve this problem? And I believe that was the beginning of my growth in my mindset of abundance. That I never stopped at the problem and just was like, oh, well, didn't get in, bye. but I always believed that there was a way. And my dad used to say very often, still does, very often to me, Olga, the sky is the limit. So why are you stopping here? And my mom is the kind of mom, I don't know if you guys relate, who I would come home with a 98 and she wouldn't say congratulations. She would be like, oh, how come it wasn't 100? So she would immediately bring me up to this awareness that I've got what I have what it takes to make it to 100. And I'm sure there could be other ways into looking at my mom's response, but that was my way of looking at it. Okay, so let's talk about abundance. I do want you to look back into personally right now. Do you think you live in the scarcity mindset, or do you live in abundance mindset? And then go down your history lane, like go back to your childhood. What were your parents? How did they raise you, from scarcity mode or abundance mode? Because these are learned behaviors, but that doesn't mean that because you were raised by parents who were constantly worried about not having enough, that this is how you have to continue. You are a grown up. You can make choices. You can change whatever you want about whatever you want in whatever way you want, and this is a choice that you can begin to make today. So, but having that understanding kind of makes it easier for you to move forward and ask the question, now what? Because if you know that you were raised from a scarcity perspective within your family, because there was poverty, because there wasn't enough resources, that it makes sense your parents were thinking this way. It's not to blame them, but they couldn't have teach you anything else because that was their reality. But you as a grown up, what are you doing today? How are you raising your children? How are you going about your life, even if you're not a parent? So abundance is the belief that all you need is already there. That is the trust that all of your needs will always be met in some way or another. So there is a saying I'm Colombian, for those of you who are just listening to my podcast for the first time. I was born and raised in Colombia. And my culture is full of sayings. Like, we have a saying for pretty much everything. And there is one saying that I'm going to translate, and maybe it's not going to translate as good. But this became my truth, okay? And because I heard this growing up my entire life. And the belief is that in one way or another, this problem or this difficult situation is going to resolve itself. And growing up, I would hear this often because people will say, like, don't worry, in one way or another, in some way you cannot even expect this will be resolved. I must add that Colombia is a 90% Catholic country, so there is that belief that God will, help you resolve this path. And I think that's where that saying come from. And you know what? Growing up, I heard that and I believed it. And so I would trust that in one way or another, my needs will be met. In one way or another, this will work out. And the importance of that saying to me is that I let go of the how. You see, I would just put full trust that my needs were going to be met, that I was going to get an education, that I was going to have money for my groceries, to have a roof over my head, but that I didn't have to worry necessarily about controlling the how I got there. I simply needed to land into trust that all my needs will always be met. And that has been my secret, guys. That has been my secret my entire life. And I cannot tell you of one time in my life where my needs have not been met. And for those of you who are first jumping into my podcast, I came to Canada as a refugee where I lost my home. All of my belongings stayed behind, including my extended family. And I was here with just a little bit of my clothes, not even photos or albums, nothing like that. My family. And each of us were given a mug, a fork, a knife, and a spoon as we arrived to this refugee welcoming house. And we stayed there for a couple of weeks. And even then, I knew all my needs are being met. I've got food, I've got education, I've got a roof over my head. So this belief has never left me and has never let me down because it always proves itself to be truth. Why? The simple thing that I was telling you earlier. Just like we train the mind to look for deficiencies, we can invest the same amount of time and energy to train the mind to look for abundance. And that's what I've done my entire life. So when I arrived to this refugee home for the first time, all I could see was like all the things we did have. We have a bed, we've got food, there is coffee, we'll be okay. Oh, we're together? Like I honestly don't have to worry about anything right now. Was it like my beautiful home or the cottages I left behind or the private university I was going to? No, it wasn't. It wouldn't compare. In the end, it didn't matter. All my needs were being met. So that's the belief that you want to cultivate if you want to jump into abundance. First and foremost, you already are everything you need and want. And trust that all of your needs will be met in one way or another, and that you don't need to be in full control of how these needs get to be met, but that you will be flexible enough to accommodate to the circumstances and continue to look for that abundance. The results, what do you think are the results of living life from this abundance perspective? Well, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. You begin to see wealth in what you do have. You begin to pay attention to the details that make you feel rich. And I don't just mean rich like wealth, accumulated money, but rich in your health, in your friendships, in the feelings you have, the opportunities you have access to. It's like if you grew up in North America, if you grew up in Europe, if you grew up like middle class in South America, in other places that are less where there's more population of where more of the population is less fortunate, you can still look for abundance. Yeah. So create the first thing that I want you to think about is, or to believe, is that the difference between somebody who feels wealthy and somebody who doesn't is what's at the core of their beliefs, of who they are and what they have and what they bring to the table. So if you believe you're walking around with the core belief that you're not good enough, I just want you to know that you're going to start seeing that coming across in everything you see. There's not enough milk. This guy doesn't love you enough. This boss doesn't listen to you enough. There's not enough gas in the car. There's not enough sunny days. There's not enough. There is not enough. That's what you're going to be operating from. But if you choose to jump into abundance, then I want you to wake up every day and look for the beauty in life and look for the abundance in your life. What do I mean by that? What's working well? Create a list of things, physical things that you see that are in your house that you have. Like, guys, if I just create a list of all the things that I'm seeing in my office right now, I would probably fill out 2 pages. How would that make me feel? Next time I think that I have nothing, well, you know what? I'm counting more than 20 books that I can see, and decorations, and a bookshelf, and a sofa, and a chair, and a carpet. Oh, and a desk, and a computer, and the microphone, and my mug. So do you see where I'm coming from? Like, I can bring my mind to all these abundance and look around and think like, oh my God, I co-created all of what I see. And that's the power. Look around you right now. What do you see? Do you like it? You were the creator of that into your life. Do you not like it? Guess what? You were the creator. So you can ask for a refund and buy something else. And I don't mean like a new frame or a new chair. If you don't like the relationships you're having, the dynamics that you're having, the relationships, the amount of money in your bank account, you cultivated that with your thinking, with your behaviors. If you don't like it, by asking for a refund, I mean, talk to the boss yourself and say, hold on, I want to cultivate wealth, health, love. What am I doing right now to cultivate that? How am I training my brain to look for abundance? I tell you what, over the last 3 months, I almost, not almost, I more than doubled my caseload. I've got more clients than I've had over the last 2 years. And the one thing I can tell you I've done, other than obviously improving my strategies, has been every Friday when I'm finishing my day, every Friday, I write down a list of every single name of every single person who's in my memberships, in my private coaching, in my group coaching. Every single one of these names. And I thank them. And I write thank you beside each of their names. And I cannot believe that number keeps growing every month more and more. And I stopped every Friday to say thank you. I look at my bank account every single morning and I look at all the transactions, all of them, not just the money coming in, the money going out. And I look one by one and I say thank you, thank you. I am thankful that I've got $1 to pay for my coffee, as I'm thankful for $2 that came in for having offered a service. I got into this very intentionally because I was already in abundance, but I want to cultivate more. Because why would I stop myself short? Why would I say, no, I've earned enough today, no more, right? I'm healthy enough. Why? So I've created a list of all the things that are healthy in my body, my eyes, my ears, like actually right at this moment, my entire body is healthy. As far as I know, I'm thankful for that. And I say it, thank you. Thank you, eyes, for operating properly. Thank you, brain. And I fuel my mind, my body. I fuel my business from a nurturing perspective, from a place of I've got what I need. And if I don't, I just have full trust that this will come my way. The way I think about it, or in a better way that I cannot even think. So, how are you looking into your relationships? How are you looking about yourself? Are you looking to you from the lenses of abundance? Or when you look in the mirror, you look at all your deficiencies? And what side effect comes from doing that, guys? So lately, I look at myself in the mirror and I name all the things that I like, that I'm seeing, and then I say thank you. Lately, I look at my husband and I tell him all the good things that he's done that day that I've really enjoyed, or the things that I appreciate, or the things that I am amazed by in the way he looks or the way he behaves. And I will never stop doing these things, guys, because the result is more of the same. I am also on a regular basis encouraging my clients and myself to create a list of the people who have helped me, who have done something that has made a difference in my life, small or big. And I send them a message and I say, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and this is why I appreciate you. To the point that people are getting used to those messages coming from me, and I'm okay with that because I am never gonna say, I already thanked them for that. But if they keep doing it, I'm gonna keep saying thank you because I want to grow this in my life. So, scarcity or abundance, it takes the same amount of power to think one way or another, but one will bring you greater results than the other one. One will stand up to the bully that says that you're not good enough, and the other one will minimize you to your smallest of expressions and will not let you grow and feel happy and abundant. So, you guys, this is what I've asked my reset mindset people. I want you to divide your life into 4 categories: your mind, your heart, so all your emotions, your body, your physical body, and your soul, your self-care. Are you having fears around these 4 areas? Are you thinking from the scarcity mode? And if so, that's okay. Acknowledge it, but notice that it's bringing you nowhere good. And today you make a contract with yourself that you will begin to think from the eyes of abundance. So how do you begin that process? How would I want to feel in this area of my life? And if you want to feel mental happiness in the mind, for example, how can I begin to create that abundance? What gives me a good feeling? How can I open my eyes to the things that are happy in this world? How can I start taking off out of my life the things that don't fuel me in mental happiness. And like this, I want you to go through all these four areas and start noticing with your relationships, with the way you talk. Are most of the things you're saying scarcity mode? Oh, what if we fail? What if we get into an accident? What if? Or are you going from a place of abundance? I love this and I cannot wait to experience this again. This is how I'm going to begin to experience this again. All right, guys, I've taken too much of your time. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for stopping in. I also want to encourage you to give me a review. The more reviews the podcast gets, the better it is for me to understand if you like it or not, if the content I'm giving you is helpful. I absolutely love when you guys send me private messages and tell me how much this meant to you. Or when you ask me questions and it gives me ideas to come back here and just talk to you a little bit more about something else. If you haven't already done that, please, please, please follow me on social media, Instagram, Olga's that way, and you will have access in there to my free self-help videos as well as my daily motivational post. I'm always in there giving you guys great free content. Also welcome you to join into my Facebook community at Olga's Way, and of course coming to my website at olgasway.com to see what services are available to you right now. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening today. May you be healthy, may you be happy, and may we meet again. Talk to you guys very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.